Hello! Today I thought I would just share a bit more about this La Jolla Playhouse commission for me to write their 2023 pop tour. We had a workshop for it back in September and it was a really enjoyable process. It was my first back in the room for anything really, but for rehearsals, especially for a show that I am writing since the pandemic began. And there was, of course, testing and masking and all of that, but it was really great. We had a wonderful team. The director, Jacole Kitchen, was really just great at putting the show together for this presentation that we had. And it's been interesting because this commission is for a touring show, which means that it's a shorter show. I was told to aim for around 40 to 45 minutes, which makes for really interesting choices that I had to make regarding it being a musical. You know, there's the traditional musical theater structure of 2 acts, and they can be as long as 2.5 hours. But then in the Theater for Young Audiences world, the TYA world that I have done most of my work in, we kind of aim for that 55 to 75 minute sweet spot there. And this was asking for me to write something even shorter, so I really had to be economical in thinking about song placement and what purposes the songs serve. And it's almost like preempting the fact that I may not need a second verse, or to try to combine as much as I can into one verse chorus. And it's okay if the song gets interrupted. For example, the opening number in a traditional structure might take 5 minutes, but I believe that this opening number is only about 2.5, and it actually gets interrupted, so the opening number doesn't even get to have its applause. It takes place in the main character Jin's brain, and so he's singing and imagining his amazing life in this video game he likes to play, and then it gets interrupted, and it works just fine. And then we move on to the second number, which is more of an ensemble number that everybody's singing. And yeah, it was just interesting to realize that that opening number didn't need to be super elaborate. We get the point and we kind of move on. And that was also true of one of the main ballads in the show, where Jin's best friend kind of talks about how being brave is not the same as having no fear. That is literally the line in the song and kind of the message of the show. And the structure, you know, a typical structure might be something like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, 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 right? That's a lot of pop songs on the radio. But because it was a ballad, and because I knew doing a ballad kind of midway through the show for children in an assembly to watch, might be a tougher sell, I had to limit it to verse, chorus, bridge, short chorus. And that was it. And even then, I was concerned that it might draw out and be a little bit long for these kids to watch. But we had great feedback. We actually had 2 invited classes come and watch our presentation for the workshop. And one kid really helped me feel at ease with this ballad. He said that the turtle song, because it's about turtles, you'll have to watch the show to know what I mean by that. He said that the turtle song was a nice emotional ride, and there seemed to be some agreement among the kids, and that was great. I wanted the song to be there, I wanted it to work, I wanted it to be engaging, and I think part of that was its shorter length. And part of it is also hopefully the placement of the show and what the audience is wanting or needing to hear as part of the message and the flow of the piece. But yeah, it's been fascinating. I have typically not gone for writing short musicals just because I think I can't not think somewhat on a bigger scale. So writing a shorter piece, like writing a 10-minute musical, that just seems weird and hard to me. Like, how do you even have time for songs? So, you know, a 40-minute musical is doable, but those songs need to be kept pretty short and need to be pretty economical as far as what they're accomplishing. Anyway, this is a lot of kind of crafty talk, and I guess my main point is that I actually learned a lot by having to write a shorter musical. And I learned that you can still be really effective even if you don't have the grand scope of a 2.5 hour piece. that you can actually tell a good story in those 40 minutes for people. So yeah, the workshop was great. Next steps will be I need to go back and do just a little bit of revising and then fleshing out the score a bit more, and then we head into rehearsals for the production, I was going to say, for the tour in February, and I'll be there for a week in February and then a week leading up to the launch of the tour in I guess the last week of February into March. And it's just been a really cool process. The folks at the La Jolla Playhouse, I guess it's their educational department, they've been really great, giving me great feedback on the piece. This workshop was really lovely. We have an amazing cast, and it's been in the midst of this flurry of busyness. I had McDowell, then I had this workshop, and then I headed to New York. But I guess this video is helping me kind of mark it and be like, yeah, that happened too in the midst of it. And it's just really lovely to reflect and think about. And I was even able to meet up with one of our actors in the show when I was in New York, because she happened to be there. Hi, Jada. I don't know, I guess there isn't really a theme to this video other than sharing what all went down with that workshop, but I think if there were a theme, it would be that things seem to be picking up. I say that very hesitantly given COVID, and also things seem to be kind of paying off, if you will. Like everything that I've been learning in the past 2 years, learning to ground myself, learning to decide what was really important to me and what my values are, they seem to be coming into play in 2022 and hopefully onward into 2023. And that includes the kinds of projects that I'm taking on. Like this project is small but mighty because it's a message about learning to handle and deal with your fears. And I think that's a message that is needed, especially in the wake of this pandemic that we're still experiencing. And it's going to go out to a bunch of kids around the greater San Diego area, and to me that's just really special and meaningful, and I think that warms my heart because it feels like the work that I'm doing is having this impact. And not that the work that I was doing before wasn't, but I guess after 2 years of being on pause, it's nice to feel like things have aligned, that I am growing in my career but also kind of staying centered on what's important to me with the work that I do. And yeah, so just wanted to give a little highlight for that, and you'll probably hear more about this once we get to February and March. And this was just a quick little update on what happened when I went down to San Diego for a week in September. All right, I promise next time we will get to New York City. Alrighty, bye-bye.